Thanks for joining, everyone. So the purpose of the space is to talk about the latest news regarding the SEC probe against Yuga Lab. So the news came out yesterday on Bloomberg. Bored Ape creator Yuga Labs faces SEC probe over unregistered offerings. Wall Street regulators examining whether NFTs are securities. Regulators' inquiry may not lead to allegations of misconduct. So that's the Bloomberg article. It says the U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission is investigating Yuga Labs, the creator of the popular Bored Ape Yacht Club collection of NFTs, over whether sales of its digital assets violate federal law. The SEC is examining whether certain non-fungible tokens from the Miami-based companies are more akin to stocks and should follow the same disclosure rules, according to a person familiar with the matter who asked not to be named because the probe is private. Wall Street's main regulator is also examining the distribution of ApeCoin, which was given to holders of Bored Ape Yacht Club and related NFTs. The cryptocurrency was created in part for Web3, a vision of a decentralized internet built around blockchains. Yuga Lab hasn't been accused of wrongdoing, and the opening of an SEC probe doesn't mean the agency will sue the firm. It's well known that policymakers and regulators have sought to learn more about the novel world of Web3. We hope to partner with the rest of the industry and regulators to define and shape the burgeoning ecosystem, Yuga Lab said in a statement to Bloomberg News. As a leader in the space, Yuga is committed to fully cooperating with inquiries along the way, and so on. The article goes. Actually, I can put it in the chat so you can all see it. 1 second. And yeah, so basically, the main story here is a whole has an impact on the whole Yuga Lab ecosystem potentially, and also on all NFTs basically, because what seems to be happening is SEC going after all the crypto world, starting with Kim Kardashian, and now going to Yuga Labs, which was chosen, in my opinion, not randomly. Obviously, it's one of the leading. It's one of the leading collection out there. The same as Kim Kardashian was not chosen randomly. There's a lot of influencers who backed the same Ethereum Max crypto that Kim Kardashian backed, and also backed other securities tokens. And Gary Gensler basically already said that he considers that the vast majority of tokens are securities, but he didn't mention anything in the past about NFTs. What he's saying is not necessarily that means that NFTs makes it qualifies as security, but definitely a probe will go very much into the details of it, and we will probably going to see the same that we have saw with XRP and all the other cases we have seen in the past. I mean, my financial background, like having worked on the securities side of business, and knowing how a regulator would look at things, there is like a first layer that I think is very hard to attack, which is the art layer. So basically, art is not regulated, or is very lightly regulated, and doesn't fall under the jurisdiction of the SEC, and is not considered as a security. So when does an art piece becomes a security? This is where it gets tricky, and we've been like hearing all along about the Howey test, which is basically a test that the SEC does to define if a crypto is considered as a security or if it's not, basically. And basically the Howey test determine what qualifies as an investment contract and will therefore be subject to US securities law. And to understand the Howey test, there are 4 elements. So an investment contract is an investment of money in a common enterprise with the expectation of profit and to be derived from the effort of others. And so basically this is what's mainly at stake here. How will the whole ecosystem that have been developed by Bored Ape Yacht Club and Yuga Labs fall under these 4 tests. And I don't think the apes themselves will fall under it. There is a part where by giving you commercial license to your ape, that you could argue that there was some incentive for you to make some profits, so you could tick some boxes of the Howey test. So an investment of money in a common enterprise with the expectation of profits to be derived from the effort of others. So the argument would be that you would be doing the effort to monetize your brand, but obviously they are doing also some of the effort because they are organizing so many events to promote your ape too. So this could fall under this Howey test, but I don't see it as a major thing. There's another part also, because in the article they mentioned specifically the ape coin. And I remember when I first watched the ape coin going dropped, and then how it was dropped and who's the holders of the ape coin, you can see that basically the way the ape coins is structured and was distributed is quite particular. First of all, the ape coin are held by a separate entity from Yuga Labs, so it is a Cayman Foundation basically that is holding the ape coins, but the holders basically are 8% the founders and 14% the launch contributors. And on this side, I don't know who's behind the launch contributors and how did they got them rewarded for this, and if it was something that was marketed in a profit perspective. I feel like on this part, it was also coincidental with the asset raise they did like couple of days after the ApeCoin drop. They announced the financing round led by A16Z of 450 million. I think it was 2 or 3 days afterwards, and therefore perhaps in the asset raising they have done, there was some unclear, like I don't know the details about what they disclosed, how did they do the raise, and how the ApeCoin was used to reward the launch contributors basically. This could be like a big question mark because we don't know the ins and outs about it. And finally, I would say this is the most tricky part of the whole board Ape Yacht Club ecosystem is the other deeds, basically. And this has a lot of implications. First of all, if they consider that the other deeds token are securities, then it has a lot of implication of the whole NFT space, because they would so basically what happened is that you could either get your other deed if you're owning an ape, or you could buy it with the ape coin, basically. So so on this front, you can say that it is something that you are expecting to profit from, in the sense that it is an investment contract that you are paying with ape coin, but at the end, whatever you're paying it with doesn't matter, because you're paying something that is valuable, that has a value, at least on the day that you paid it. And you're paying with something that is valuable to get something that will be valuable. And back then, there was a very interesting article that was written in detail about the subject. And in this article, they specify, I'm going to also put it in the link. How do I do that? I'm going to send it to you, Joe, and you put it in the link. I'm not sure how
sounds
to
good.
do it. And in this article, basically, there are two things about the way it's structured. So it wasn't Yuga Labs that was that was selling you the other deeds, or that were giving you the other deeds. It was Anomica, and Yuga Labs then gave you the codas. So and because Anomica basically is the company that is selling you for your ape coins these other deeds, is Hong Kong based. So there is a kind of defense that even though you would qualify as a security token, it wasn't done on US soil, and therefore the SEC has no jurisdiction there. But then you go back to, is it a security token or not? And this is like, if there's something, in my opinion, that's going to come out, and the most shady about the probe would be this part, where Yuga Labs will need very good lawyers to defend that even the other deed part is not considered as a security, because at the end, you need to, you can say that you can profit from it, but you can say that no, it's a collective item, or you're gonna play it in a game, and it's just an avatar, or like any game where you buy stuff in it, it can be the same. But the whole blurred lines are there, and this will create a jurisdiction, because there will be like it's the first time that this kind of qualification of such item will be addressed. But most importantly, like whatever happens, there's of course the ultimate scenario that we all wish for, that it is just an investigation for them to understand the space and to get into the whole NFTs, to look at it, etc. And a probe is not a condemnation. It's just an investigation. So they just want to look that everything was done properly, and then they will maybe move along and say we haven't found anything that qualify as unregistered securities. However, it doesn't seem that way, in the sense that they seem to want to show an example, because they went for Yuga Labs. They didn't choose randomly, so they wanted like the OG of NFTs, and they're gonna go probably in a legal battle to prove that there is something that was done wrong. Now the fine, how much will it cost? Well, how it's gonna impact Yuga Labs, etc. It's very hard, because it's an NFT world to defend a potential claim. It's much easier for NFTs that tokenize assets, or that are very close to what you see in the traditional world, that is just digitalized. So, for example, there are companies that sell you NFT real estates, and they tokenize apartments. These you could, even before NFT was created, invest in real estate funds and buy shares of the fund that is holding the real estate, etc. And all this was considered as an investment product. So it's much easier for them to apply like their rules to asset tokenization, for example, than to apply it to something like Yuga Labs, which is much more complex and much more sophisticated. However, this is clearly a message that, on the same line as the Kim Kardashian condemnation or settlement, that they want the whole NFT world to be cautious about how they're doing business, how they're promoting their NFTs, what they're doing, basically. Because you see in the space a lot of people not even questioning themselves whether what they're doing is supposed to be to follow some securities law or not. And the NFT is so complicated that even if they're right, a legal battle will take ages. It's going to be too complicated. In Europe, for example, there is a digital asset regulation that is being written at the European level. And when they arrived to the NFT space, they realized it was so complicated for them to write a regulation about it, that they excluded it from the next regulation that will be enforced in 2024 or 25. So imagine how complex for them it was to just include these type of assets in the regulation, and imagine how complicated it's going to be for the SEC to prove their point, and how the legal battle, if any, will be hard to fight. Most probably, if there's something that will settle, because it's a very complicated matter. So all in all, basically, it's more, in my opinion, a message they want to send to the whole NFT community, saying, hey guys, we're watching what you're doing. You cannot do anything, and whatever you're doing, watch out, basically. Go ahead, bro.
Yeah, I spoke to their lawyer yesterday. Obviously, didn't tell me much, but he basically said that Yuga was very, very careful in making the ApeCoin separated completely from Yuga. So, yeah, I think this is definitely just more of an attack on the coin. But he did say they were very careful when they were setting it up, that it has no association with Yuga at all. He also said that I asked him about, because staking is supposed to come in at the end of the month. So I kind of assumed that Yuga would like just postpone that for now. But he said he would be very surprised if they postpone staking. They're planning to go full blast on it, which I kind of respect. I think they're kind of I like that they're not backing down.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure, like with all the money they have a very strong and thorough legal understanding of everything I'm saying, and I found it quite aggressive, the fact that they didn't back down from the staking. I also, like, having followed the space for a while now, I also seen a lot of people like continuing to do a business as if nothing happened and then regretting it. And I hope I have also seen like the SEC overreaching in some cases where I was really like I was really surprised. For example, there was an insider trading case in Coinbase or in OpenSea also, where basically they were accusing people of insider trading, although what they were trading were not securities. So the insider trading laws apply to securities. And for example, in art, because I'm an art collector too, I know that insider trading is your main business, in the sense that when you hear that there's one museum that wants to accept a new artist, automatically the museum, the artist becomes very valuable. So people try to always be close to museums to know when they're gonna add a new artist, to go and rush and buy it before everybody else knows. That's like typical insider trading, but because it's not security, so it's not regulated by the financial authorities, and therefore it is bread and butter. Dump and pump, for example, also, which is illegal in securities, is very normal in art. Like all the big artists, are maintained, and their price is manipulated by big art merchants to sustain a certain price and to make sure they remain valuable, so they buy when the price goes down, to make sure they maintain a certain price. So all these exist in the art world. So I was expecting that because the SEC is not saying anything in the art world, they wouldn't say anything for what's happening on OpenSea or what's happening on Coinbase, on non-securities token, but they did basically, and they found a kind of way around it. So they were not, so the headline was they were doing insider trading, but practically the crime was not about securities law, it was about commercial law, in the sense that they deceived their employer, basically. They didn't deceive the market. So it's much more complicated than just like there is the law, and then there is what kind of message they want to give, and what kind of message they want to send. And if they want your head, they find a way around it to find a certain practice that doesn't fit the proper behavior, and come back after you. But most probably, I think it will end up the same way as it ended up with Kim Kardashian, to show an example, and then maybe they are, because when the Kim Kardashian came out, just afterwards there was like a huge video campaign of Gary Gensler explaining why she was condemned and what happened, etc. So it was a well thought communication process. So the whole probe and the settlement and then the marketing that came afterwards was just a clear message that they were sending to the whole community. And also you have to think about the fact that the whole space is very toxic, rug pulls, promises of gains. So the main way the SEC thinks about this is to protect the consumer. So at the end, this is what's important for them, and consumer protection is their main goal, and they want to just show, in my opinion, an example out of it to protect the consumers from other people tempted to go much farther than what Yuga Lab is doing.
Yeah, I mean, I was surprised. Like, the main strategy, like the go-to strategy, is first you target, the poor, lesser-known projects to set a precedent. You don't usually attack the biggest projects first, because then after you set a precedent with like the people who have less resources to defend themselves, then you go after the big guys. But it seems like they just went after the big guys immediately. So I don't know if they think it's a slam dunk case, or I don't know if they're just trying to get like exposure to show everyone, send a message that like we're going after the big guys, like no one's safe. But yeah, I was pretty shocked, I guess.
It's interesting. I haven't thought about that. Why if they went after the small guys first? But definitely in the Kim Kardashian case, they wanted. I mean, I'm sure if they searched, they could have found millions of influencers who backed scam coins or what they call securities coins. But they went after Kim Kardashian at the end, so definitely it wasn't chosen out of the blue. And usually when you have an SEC probe and they offer you to settle, most probably you're gonna settle, because otherwise the lawyers are gonna cost you so much that you're better off settling than taking the case to court, whether you're right or wrong, basically.
So how much pressure is on? Like you're familiar with like these, the SEC, I guess. Like how much pressure is on Yuga right now? Are they just getting everything like combed through, like all their messages and finances and everything? Like how deep does it go?
I think it's better for Yuga Labs on the short run, because they're gonna be disturbed by all this happening, so they won't be as focused as before to execute their plan. Although they want to show that everything is still on track and they want to deliver what they promised, it will, of course, add an internal layer of burden, time lost with lawyers, cost, hiring additional legal opinions, and making sure everybody is on top of everything. So, but again, if they win, they're gonna come back on top very, very strong. But that being said, this is like part of when you become big, like at Facebook or Google or all the big guys, they have so many complaints, so many cases, so many investigations. I mean, Mark Zuckerberg has spent I don't know how many hours being interrogated by the Senate, by committees, by so many question marks asked. And this is the fate of any big company when you're a leader in the market, basically.
Yeah, I remember one like big CEO I talked to, like he basically said that he's dealing with 50 lawsuits at a time, like all the time, and that's just you just have to like phase it out. But yeah, definitely, I think like it does. I don't know, like in the Board Ape holder chat yesterday, a lot of the Board Apes were saying like this is a good thing, it's bullish, which I guess in some sense it is because regulation's coming, or at least they're showing the presence, but I'm not really sure how this is bullish, but I do respect that Board Ape is not backing down from staking. I think like Ripple and such. I think they like kind of backed down a little bit, which I didn't like. And then I think they're actually about to win the court case. Like I think the decision will be this month. But yeah, I hate when people back down because it's going to be
I
years
mean,
until this is settled.
if you look at the ape coin, it held very, very well. I'm really impressed. Like it dropped, but I mean, in the financial market, if you hear like a company getting probed, it would have lost much more. I think also the fact that we're in such a bear market, so now the ape holders and the ape coin holders are just like Jehovah's Witness. Like whatever happens, we're there and we're not gonna back down. It becomes like zealots. It's not anymore about. It's like honestly, this community is holders are like diamond hands. Really, literally, I'm really impressed that the ape coin dropped so little, and also the apes dropped so little on the back of the news.
Yeah, I think there might be an army of apes outside of like Gary Gensler's house at some point. I don't think he's realized like how much these people care.
Definitely.
Yeah, I'm at the Web3 Expo, and I talk to people, and like no one. I thought it'd be a big deal, but no one seems to care. They think it will be all figured out. So there's no panic here.
Yeah, I heard there's a Web3 Expo in Las Vegas. This is where you are?
Yeah, yeah,
Oh, wow. It's a big one.
yeah. I spoke with Wolf Financial here, just about like Web3 and stuff, and yeah, there's a bunch of like Web2 companies and like traditional finance guys here, so they're all trying to learn the game.
Is it over or is it still on?
It's 2 more days. Kevin O'Leary from Shark Tank, he's here, so everybody's just in one room trying to talk to him right now.
Okay. I got it. Cool stuff. And you spoke there, right?
Yeah, I spoke here Monday, like the first day.
Okay, what did you speak about? You didn't send us your intervention.
I tried to bring it back to. I just spoke about utility and like how to get into the Web3 game, and just basically said that a lot of these brands are trying to get in and like they don't understand. So I tried to like give a perspective from like the crypto native people and what people want to see in NFT projects. Um, yeah, making good connections and have some partnerships for us. So I'll inform you guys on that a little bit later today.
Okay, so I let you keep on the party, and
For sure.
we'll speak tomorrow then.
All right. See you guys.
Okay, ciao, ciao.